Hi everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at my perspective of the winners and losers of the third Democratic presidential debate in this 2020 cycle. So, once again, there was just 10 candidates on the stage. They were all on the same night. So it was definitely a interesting dynamic, to say the least, having Buttigieg, Sanders, Biden, Warren, Harris, and Andrew Yang all on the center stage trying to sort of project their visions for America. I have some notes here that I've made. I also have these slides that I've done here. So this is how the candidates were positioned. So as you can see here, Joe Biden, the centrist moderate candidate, flanked by two hardcore progressives, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, and then beside them there are some other more moderate candidates. Beside Warren, there's Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Besides Bernie Sanders, it's Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg. So everyone from Buttigieg all the way each of the top three candidates were flanked on either side of them to people who probably have a different viewpoint than them. So, and then obviously you have the lower tier candidates here. You got Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, Andrew Yang, and then so how it's sort of breaking down right now, you've got Biden, Warren, and Sanders as the top tier, followed by Buttigieg and Harris, followed by Yang, Booker, and O'Rourke, followed by Klobuchar, Castro, and I would also include Tulsi Gabbard there in that sort of area. And then after that, you have sort of everyone else who can't really break through there. So starting off, this is how I'm going to do it here. There's going to be 5 categories. I'm going to mention one big loser, some other losers, the okay or meh category, the people who did well, and one big winner. Just a few notes. This probably won't change the polling. I don't think that this debate will change the polling. I think everyone sort of did about the same. And I judge also the candidates compared to the average performance, not their previous debate. So, for example, someone like Elizabeth Warren could even be in the one big loser category if I was basing it off their previous debate, since she clearly declined in her performance from the previous debate. But so I don't really think that's fair. I'm going to judge the candidates based on, how everyone else did in that same debate. The one big loser here, Amy Klobuchar, I really didn't think she did well at all. She sort of really faded into the background for a lot of it. Her only strong thing was her opening statement. She started off strong, differentiating herself from other people, but other than that, it was just constantly sort of, oh my goodness, like you could see she was really trying to sort of really try and make an effort to try and put herself out there. She did not do that very well at all, in the slightest. I thought that she did a very poor job. Her one-liners really didn't land. They sort of felt awkward and weird. That's just my pen dropping there. I don't know. There we go. Let's pick that up. There we go. But it just felt really, really awkward every time she said one of those cringe-worthy one-liners, and so I had to put her as the one big loser in this debate. She needed a breakout. She's the lowest polling, or the second lowest polling candidate on stage. She needs a breakout. She did not get that tonight. Next, I guess, I don't know how you want to say it. The next tier, I judge this would be a 2. So that was a 1 out of 5. The next layer is the 2 out of 5. So, next layer, we have the following individuals. We have Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, and Julian Castro. So I have a lot to say for this tier. Julian Castro, if I can find my notes on him, there we go. So I thought Julian Castro, his big thing was his attack on Biden. It did not work in the slightest. He tried to sort of really corner Biden, and he was like, "Are you forgetting what you said 2 minutes ago?" And then all the fact checkers after the debate were like, "No, actually, he did say that. You're the one who's sort of forgetting." So that did not land, and also it just made him seem like this sort of weak candidate who's trying to get into this sort of mid-tier, top-tier range, and he's stuck. And it also made Julian Castro look vicious. It made him look sort of this attack dog, and you don't want to be looking like the attack dog on stage, and that creates a negative image. People don't like it when you attack other people. So Julian Castro, I see him as a loser in this debate. Kamala Harris. So she had a strong opening statement. She clearly differentiated herself from Donald Trump. I noted down she had a pretty good pivot on a question on healthcare, I believe. So that's always nice to see. So those are the two good things. The bad thing is pretty much everything else. She didn't have a clear sort of moment in the debate. Furthermore, her whole sort of strategy was these sort of really awkward canned lines similar to Amy Klobuchar that really didn't stick. A lot of the times she was sort of giggling away, thinking that she had, slam dunk, I'm going to win this thing based on that great canned line I put together with my advisors. But everyone else just sort of laughed awkwardly, and some of them, sometimes there was no response and just like, continue on with the question. And so Kamala Harris did not win the debate. She didn't do a good job on healthcare. And she just overall really didn't stand out in this debate. She wasn't not able to break through. As for Pete Buttigieg, so Pete Buttigieg, an interesting character. He always sort of has a pretty he does okay in debates, but he never really smashes it out of the park, and there's definitely something missing for Pete Buttigieg. I think he has the ability to really make a strong generational argument against the top three who are, aging, and he's sort of that fourth or that fifth level contender, and he can make a strong point. He just needs to break through. He had that moment in the sun with positive media coverage, a bit like Elizabeth Warren, how Elizabeth Warren has that right now, how before that Beto O'Rourke, and before that Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren sort of has that sort of very positive media spotlight. Pete Buttigieg has sort of lost that, and he's trying to regain that ground. And so it's going to be interesting and to see if Pete Buttigieg can break through. But really why I put him in the losers, he didn't break through. Furthermore, his opening statement, not particularly strong. He did have a relatively solid attack on Bernie Sanders on healthcare, but you just really need to dominate the media cycle in order to be considered a winner in some of these debates, and Pete Buttigieg did not do that. Next up, we have the okay category, or the meh category, and in this category we have three people. We have the following individuals, all of whom I think are relatively popular within my audience, so I don't know how well this video is going to do if I put them in the meh category. But yes, so those individuals are Bernie Sanders, who I gave a 3, Elizabeth Warren, who I gave a 3, Andrew Yang, I gave a 3. So the okays are a 3 out of 5. Here's the thing. With someone like an Andrew Yang, I know everyone's saying, it's interesting. And I will say the reason why he's not in the loser category, he had a very strong opening statement. It was very unique, and he definitely differentiated himself, especially in that opening statement. And also sort of throughout the debate, he's not a politician. He continually sort of directly and indirectly emphasized that his opening statement was very good, and he didn't link things back to his key campaign thing, which is UBI. His big so-called announcement was that he's going to give 10 families the $1,000 a month. So it's going to be interesting. He had a strong opening statement, but other than that, he really didn't have very solid answer to some key policy questions, and he sort of just went into the background for a lot of the debate. Healthcare, I don't know if he spoke much on healthcare. He didn't speak much on many key issues, and like that's firstly the moderator's not calling on him. He's in sixth place, barely in that sort of second tier on that debate stage if you split the debate in two. He's the top of that bottom tier, if that makes sense. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does. I really didn't think he stood out though, but I do think he did much better than a lot of the media is giving him credit for. I read an article on the New York Times. Some people gave him a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10. That's just being way too harsh. I'm giving him a 3 out of 5, or a 6 out of 10 if you want to put it like that. Next person, they also did okay. This person is Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. So if I was basing this off of the previous debate performance, no doubt in my mind Elizabeth Warren would be the big loser in this debate. She faded into the background for a lot of the debate, and she just really didn't stand out. However, she had a very good response to Biden on healthcare. Bernie and Elizabeth Warren sort of teamed up together against Biden on healthcare. And even then, I thought it sort of was a wash for those two candidates against Biden. Biden had very strong points on healthcare, but Elizabeth Warren really didn't stand out, and she really faded into the background. For a lot of the debate, she wasn't called upon, and again, that's partly the moderator's fault, but in a debate like this, you really need to push and shove your way into the conversation, ask to be sort of talked upon, try and get into some of these back and forths with the candidates. It'll give you more time to talk about, since they need to give you the time, since if the other candidate attacks you, you need to be given the time to respond. But it's going to be interesting to see how Elizabeth Warren does, if that changes the polling. I don't think it will, but I really think she didn't do all that well. I mean, it's partly I'm putting her in the okay because of how well she did in the previous debates, but the main criteria is how well she did against other people, and she just did not stand out in this debate. Another person who I thought did okay is Bernie Sanders. So here's the thing with Bernie Sanders. His substance was very, very strong. He had very good points on almost all the questions that he was asked. He didn't really get attacked by, except for the Pete Buttigieg on healthcare. But here's the thing about Bernie, and the reason why I'm putting him in the okay category. I feel so bad because it's really not his fault that he is in the okay category, because if he did not have this thing, he would definitely be in the doing well category and might have even wounded up in the big winner category. That is Bernie Sanders. And so the reason why I put him in the okay category is pretty much because he was sick and he had a cold. And so I feel so bad doing this because I really don't think I should be. His substance was so strong, but he had this really bad cold. Something was clearly in his throat, and it clearly hindered on his communication. He seemed to really be shouting, and I guess that's his style, but it just seems a bit too much. And he clearly had a cold. He was clearly a bit sick. And so I think that next time he really shouldn't be doing a lot of speeches the previous 48 hours before a debate, because then he gets like a sore throat, and so it's gonna be interesting to see how that does. And I am sorry to put Bernie in this okay, but he really didn't stand out. His policy, his substance was great. but he just had a cold and his presentation was very poor in my opinion. So that's why he's in the okay category. And again, I feel really bad doing this just because he has a cold. That's why it hindered his communication. But anyway, that's the thing with debates. You get one chance. The next category, the winners here, 4 out of 5s for all these people. Cory Booker, Joe Biden, and Beto O'Rourke. So here, firstly, Joe Biden. This is a massive improvement from Joe Biden. He defended his healthcare position very well with effective arguments on how much the Medicare for All proposed by Senators Sanders and Warren would cost. A very good argument there by Joe Biden. He definitely started off very strong, but as the debate wore on, he sort of went down a little bit. So if you're looking at a graph there, and this is 30 minutes through the debate, 60 minutes through the debate, keep going until you finish the debate, 180 minutes, and then on the other column you've got the performance. So you could say 5 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5, 2 out of 5, and total collapse. And so you could see him it sort of was a diagonal line. He started off strong, but then as the debate wore on, he sort of started to stumble, and then by the end he sort of didn't do all that well. But Joe Biden clearly had done his homework. He clearly had arguments that he knew and he was ready to use on the two progressive flanked either side of him. He wasn't afraid to go on the attack when he was attacked. And but again, you could sort of really clearly see that sort of diagonal line that he really sort of started to deteriorate towards the end of that debate. And but overall, I still think he's a very big winner. He had a good argument on cost. He had a very solid argument on healthcare. Again, good on many of these issues. His presentation was clear for most of the debate, and so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not that moves his poll numbers up or down. Next winner, Cory Booker. See, here, I don't know if I have a note on him. I actually didn't take notes of him throughout the debate, but I did think he stood out. Like, looking back, I did think that Cory Booker stood out, and he sort of stood out at all of these debates, but it doesn't seem to move his polling numbers, and so he needs to find some light at the end of the tunnel, excuse the pun, if he wants to continue in this race. And so, but I still thought he was a winner. He had very good arguments. He didn't really attack, but he did again have solid arguments on a lot of these issues, and so it's going to be interesting to see if that moves him up or down. Next person who we're going to talk about Beto O'Rourke. So, goodness, this was a massive improvement from his previous debate. Remember the first debate? He was center stage there with Elizabeth Warren. He was constantly getting attacked on by other candidates, including Bill de Blasio, most famously there. He just got absolutely pummeled in that first debate. Second debate, slight improvement, but still really didn't make a name for himself. But third debate, boy oh boy, is this an improvement from the former Texas Congressman. Beto O'Rourke is back. He looks like he could be back in this race, and so it's going to be interesting. Why I put him in the winner category? Watching him on the gun control debate, very powerful. All the candidates were praising him. He was the one who said, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. While that might not be popular overall, that's definitely popular within a Democratic primary. There were a lot of people who thought, again, Beto O'Rourke, needs to have a moment. And I don't know if he got that moment tonight, but he definitely got closer to having that moment. And so it's going to be interesting. Beto O'Rourke, a clear improvement. And you can probably tell there are one big loser, 3 losers there, 3 okayers, 3 winners. And if you do the math, there is no one left. I don't think anyone was a clear winner in this debate. No one really stood out as the big winner. Kamala Harris, the winner in that first presidential debate. You could see clearly in the second set, you could see clearly an Elizabeth Warren dominated the debate. Bernie Sanders dominated the debate. But here I don't think anyone clearly won. There was no clear winner in my opinion. And so, yeah, I guess that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Cheers, fun election predictions.